I just think the way business works is fascinating, and the way in which bad actors can continue until they can't, and the way certain people just continue to ring up success after success after success, and the business models that underpin that. How do they set themselves up to succeed? And so I always talk about these social platforms as a pure supply and demand curve, back to my economics background, right? So if you can remember, when I'm trying to think of when I even got on Facebook. Maybe I was like a senior in high school or something like that, probably a little bit before that. But you would see every single post of your friends, and you probably spend a lot of time on your friends' profiles because there just wasn't that much content. There wasn't that much supply for the attention that you were bringing to the platform. So you saw more or less it all. Every time someone changed their relationship status, oh my gosh, can you believe that, so-and-so ended things with so-and-so? And slowly but surely, more and more posting happened. And Facebook said, okay, let's port posting from personal pages over to company pages. And then those company pages saw their organic reach decline until it reached that point, exactly like you're saying, where, hey buddy, you want this scene, you're going to have to pay up. And Instagram has basically gone through a similar nexus here over the last 4 years or so, where it went from explosive organic growth all over the place and the slow decline into less and less organic reach to get in front of people's eyeballs. As a company, since we founded, Piper has seen enormous growth, a ton of those inbound leads via LinkedIn, because in 2018, LinkedIn introduced content being uploaded to the feed and the eventual ability to put videos and photos and these decks. And we got a ton of leads from that because a lot of companies weren't comfortable publishing content there. They didn't take it seriously as a platform, all sorts of reasons. And so we benefited from that. So the kind of core answer there to, should I be a user-generated content producer on one of these platforms, I would say that the ship has sailed for Facebook. There aren't acts breaking on Facebook anymore. There are highly capitalized startups acquiring customers via Facebook ads, but that is usually after they have proven product market fit. Maybe they've run some experiments there with like a little budget, but that's basically where they started. Conversely, I have another friend who, I believe they just raised a Series A. They are a men's cosmetics brand, and they have acquired a majority of their business and brand equity through free posting on TikTok, organic posts, not paid for distribution, just the sweat, the hard work, the discipline of posting there consistently, and have cultivated an audience of people who are interested in a kind of subtle, refined, thoughtfully designed men cosmetics suite of products. And so it is the kind of moving target of, once again, the supply and demand. There's a ton of demand. There's a ton of eyeballs looking for content on TikTok, opening the app with consistency, spending dozens of minutes on the app. And so there is this demand for content and a supply that is increasing rapidly. And TikTok is increasing their ad load. Even over the last couple of months, they've increased their ad load, which once again is kind of a proxy for that organic reach tanking. But it's still in the early stages. You know, if you had gotten really freaking serious about Instagram 4 years ago, you'd be in a better spot now, because that's, you know, where things were. I'd say TikTok is somewhere in that range, maybe a little before that, maybe a little after that. It's hard to be sure, but I think that you have to, if you don't have any money, if you're rubbing two nickels together and you're trying to get something started through sweat equity, through grit, you got to take a platform like that seriously. I think you can be taking LinkedIn seriously. I think that just, you know, like Six, you do a good job with your production. You have good gear, you have that type of stuff. If you were telling me about the business of heavy metal or the business of music with a weekly LinkedIn piece of content, I would consume that. I'd be fascinated by that. And I'm sure I'm not alone. And so you got to play the game from that supply and demand standpoint. Understand that these businesses live on attention. They sell ads against the attention that they accrue. And so they need great content, and they will elevate great content. It's an extreme example. And I understand why someone call him a sellout, but like, you got these TikTok stars, Charlie D'Amelio, Addison Rae, Josh Richards, that have literally gone from teenage nobodies to international celebrities and multi-million-dollar brands for free content, free distribution. I'm not saying you need to dress in a tight outfit and dance, because those are just the extreme examples that I think have the highest chance of someone being familiar with. But there are enormous businesses. Peter's Pasta here in Pittsburgh. He's left his job as a chef to be a full-time content creator around pasta creation, with more than I think it's over 1 million followers on TikTok. There's Cold Cuts, another local kid here who I believe is also 1 million followers on TikTok, doing different kind of pratfall type of stunts and physical stunts and dunking the basketball.
Yeah.
And so, this stuff is very, very possible for the talented. Like it's not a handout. It's not free, but it is.
So I think that is the biggest thing, which also probably loops back to this common thread of humility that we've discussed time and time again over this conversation. I think that you can understand how all of this works, but if you have shitty product, it doesn't matter. So there's like such it's so easy to get caught up as an artist or as a pizza shop or whatever, okay, nobody's paying attention to what I'm doing because my reach sucks. That's good, but you need to make sure that you're still focusing on making good content. So, maybe you do knock something out the park. Like you have, the right image that catches enough people's attention with the right hashtags, or at the right time, the right person sees it, share, whatever. But if it's crap, it's not going to have that, the retention or a repeat customer that you had also mentioned before. So it's you can maybe find a way to break the cycle now and then. Cause it'll happen with me where I'll have a post that's oh, this didn't get too many likes. This one didn't get too many likes. Then I have one that has 800 to 800% more likes than something that would normally out of nowhere. And I'm what was it about this post? Was it the time that I posted it? There's nothing that's really unique. Is it the cover image that's on it? Is that what got more people to look at it? How did this one work when it's very much in line with everything else that I've done? And trying to figure that out is always really interesting to me. It's well, maybe is this post just good? Is this one, is there something that's fundamentally better about this particular thing than the other things? I don't know. I can't step outside of outside of myself enough to analyze it from the outsider perspective to tell why particular posts do better than others.
And it's so hard because literally I have an editor on my team. He edits the weekly business news show that we do, the Piper Rundown. And we were just talking about the intros because, YouTube, for example, there's only 2 metrics that matter on YouTube. If anyone's trying to build on YouTube, it is your click-through rate and your viewer retention. Everything else doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter when you post. Doesn't really matter if you say the word baloney in the first 3 sentences or whatever the thing is. It is those 2 things. Right.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that video retention and how there's these other channels that do better than us that have longer intros to create these open loops to get someone to the 5th, 7th, 8th minute of the video because they've kind of set you up to be expecting what's coming. Just a good movie does foreshadowing, right? It has that teaser at the beginning. So we had this very simple epiphany of let's make this a 2-sentence intro instead of a 1-sentence intro. And what do you know? It had a positive impact on our view duration. But it's oh, how are we so dense to not get that for 2 freaking years of doing this? Mm-hmm. And so the core, once again, is the humility to say it's not good enough. The reason it's not bigger, the reason we don't have better view duration is us. It's not the viewers. It's not them. They want to find the next great thing. I don't know. What's your favorite TV show you've watched recently?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
A Discovery of Witches. It's on Shudder.
Were you gassed when you found that? When you realized that you would come across your next new favorite show?
Totally.
That is generally the approach that people are taking, whether it's YouTube, whether it's a podcast, whether it's whatever. people aren't default like, oh, screw everything 100% of the time, particularly screw like your personal content, whoever's listening to this. People are very excited to potentially come across their next new favorite thing. And, like I think about like, certain people be like, oh, like I'm just watching Sopranos for the first time or something. And you're like, oh man, I know what's coming. I know like what's coming in season, whatever. And you had that like feeling like, oh, the first time, right? That could be you, but you have to do the work of recognizing you're not there yet.